Thank you. You may be seated.
Deputy.
Honourable Chief Whip, I reckon. Sorry, I thought you were actually raising a point of order, Honourable Dugmore.
Yes, it is. Speaker, we do not want to disrupt the reply.
Just if you can put your microphone on.
We don't want to disrupt or delay the response by the Honourable Premier. And we have obviously taken note of your ruling and we respect the fact that you did come back to the House. But Speaker, would it be in order that given that the letter read out by Honourable Bartman was actually used in a way which promoted a lie in this House, can we not through you just settle this matter and ask Honourable Bartman to withdraw her comments or otherwise face a substantive motion in this House? Because what she cynically did was read half of a letter which actually indicates that Member Baku Baku was never appointed to the Khayelitsha board. And that is cynical. So we would like to ask you, would you not give her, Honourable Bartman, an opportunity to withdraw her comment?
Unfortunately, Honourable Dugmore, I made a ruling and the ruling stands. If you feel it necessary to bring a substantive motion at the next sitting, you may do so, but I am not going to comment any further on my ruling. It stands as is. Thank you very much. We will now proceed. The Secretary will read the second order of the day.
Chair.
Please, Secretary. Honourable Said.
Chair, let it be put as the ANC. We don't agree with your ruling. We will be doing a substantive motion, and the public must know that the DA are allowed to lie in this House and that they are protected in order to tell their lies by the Deputy Speaker. This is a breakdown of democracy. You bring democracy to the people, but you show the people that you care nothing about democracy.
Honourable Deputy Chief Whip, I see you recognise you, Chief Whip.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The Honourable side is in direct contravention of Rule 66(5), which states that a member who is aggrieved may not challenge a ruling in the House and should therefore withdraw those remarks. Thank you. He knows the process. If he is aggrieved, he knows the process. He must follow the rules.
Order.
He must follow the rules.
Honourable members, please can we have the honourable members. Honourable members, we are in front of the public eye. I would ask that you practice some decorum. Honourable members, if it deemed it necessary, we will adjourn the sitting because we have the public here. I am not here to make a decision on the information that was presented, and you know that. But I am not here to be the judge. Honourable members, the ruling stands. The ruling stands.
She must leave the House.
Honourable members, I am going to start naming members, and then you will have to leave the House. That's fine. That's fine. I cannot make a ruling on lies or not. You know that. You're not to use. We will proceed, honourable members. For those of you that want to leave, you are welcome to. For those that don't, I ask that you remain in order. Right, we will now continue. May I ask the Secretary to move to the second order of the day. Honourable members, I'm going to start naming names. Honourable Baku Baku Force, I'm telling you now to keep quiet, otherwise you will be named and you will have to leave. That is now the final warning. That is now the final warning. Honourable Baku Baku Force, please stand. Please stand. You're firstly breaking a rule by sitting and talking to me. Honourable Baku Baku Force. Right. Now, I would like to have some mutual respect here. If you want me to respect you and what you're saying, then I respect that you will follow the rules, stand and having a meaningful conversation. But the point is that you are shouting and you're placing the entire House into decorum. I am not here on those matters. I have made a ruling and I stand by the ruling for now. So Honourable Baku Force, either you're going to keep quiet or I have to name you to leave. No what? I can.
You are misusing your power. There was some superiority here in this house.
Honourable Baku Force, I would like to end this matter. Otherwise, you will have to please leave.
We're equal in this house, ma'am. That is why you must help us.
We're not here to be bullied.
We are equal in this house.
I've made a ruling. The ruling stands. Right. Can I proceed? The secretary will read the second order of the day.
We are coming with a substantive motion.
Repliek van die premier op die debat oor die premiersrede.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. I'll now afford the Honourable the Premier an opportunity to reply to the debate. The Honourable Premier Windy.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Baie dankie vir die geleentheid om 'n antwoord te gee op die debat vir vandag. I want to start off by saying, Deputy Speaker and honourable members of this House, I want to say again, honourable members of this House, I truly believe in democracy. I truly believe that we have one of the best constitutions that underpins our democracy in the world. I truly believe that a democracy has to be underpinned by rules, which come out of a constitution, which come out of the rules of a house like this, an august parliament.
Members.
I also believe that a government needs a strong opposition. If we want to get better, if we want to improve for the lives and the lot of our citizens, as ons wil sorg dat ons die verkose parlementslede van die mense van hierdie provinsie, if we want to earn their trust, if we want to show them that in actual fact they did not waste their vote, we need to make sure that we do things properly. We follow the rules. We need to make sure that we support our constitution. You know, Speaker, I've just heard it again, the word lie. You know, in our parliament, and a number of our members in this parliament have been here for many years. You know that in actual fact, we do not tolerate the word lie directly from one member to another, because that is unparliamentary. It is in our rules. Speaker, in a debate like this, which is really, really important on how we as a government set forward our vision for the next year or two, reflect onto the past, understand what this province went through over the last 2 years, the people of this province, what they went through over the last 2 years. We put a vision on the table, and then what happens in this debate is we have ideas put on the table. Opposition generally bring new, innovative, prepared, researched ideas on saying, you say this in your policy, what we think is it's not working because of this and this and this, and that's why we think you should change, because we're going to put our policy on the table and convince us in a debate that we will try something else, that we will do something differently. It's not the first time I'm saying this, Madam Speaker. I've said this from the first day after my election. I also said that I wanted to bring a different way of work once I was elected. I wanted to build cooperative governance. I wanted to work with other governments. And I'll say a little bit more about that just now. But Speaker, I really do want to say once again, I believe in democracy and the processes of democracy. And this House needs to be used properly in those processes. I will answer the debate now and those issues that have been raised. I will answer the issues raised by opposition members. But before I do that, I want to honestly say to the members of my political party, of my caucus, of my government, chairpersons of our committees, those that took part today, thank you very much for your inputs. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for adding to the substance of what I said yesterday. I get reminded over and over again of the 2 hours that I spoke yesterday. And there's so much that we do that I didn't even get to, nowhere near. If I think of the inputs after the interviews with each of you as ministers and your heads of departments and the issues that you brought to me in preparing for this speech, I want to say to you, I apologize that I couldn't have spent another 4 or 5 hours talking about some of those amazing things that you do. I really want to thank you for everything that you do in making sure that we improve things for the citizens of our province. We are by far no ways perfect. We have got so much to do. But thank you very much for the role that you play in this democracy of ours. You make me very proud. Thank you very much. Speaker, getting to the issues that have been raised by the members of the opposition, and thank you very much to the members that have raised your issues. Again, as I say, that's what a democracy is about. I want to say to the honourable leader of the opposition, the first thing you said to me is, you just came here to make announcements. I want to say, Honourable Dagbo, in leadership, in running a government, that's exactly what the state of the province is about. It's about understanding those pressures that we face and saying that as a government, we now start a new year again. We've applied our minds. We know that it is so difficult to really fix those things what's so broken from before we were a democracy, let alone the things that have not succeeded or we've got right as South Africa since we became a democracy. There's lots of work to be done. But that's exactly what happens at the State of the Province address, is you analyze, you reflect, you innovate, you think about new ways of doing things. I said it openly yesterday. In our government, we have challenges, and I think of the government that we are at the moment, the structure of that government. That government is structured according to a constitution. It tells us how we should form our government. And that government has income from tax that's claimed from our citizens. And I've been in government now for 12 and a half years. When I came into government, we came into government after the 2007-8 recession. We came in 2009. We were in recession. It has been very, very difficult from a financial point of view, from an tax income point of view in South Africa ever since then. I always think of our budgets in real terms, and in real terms, our budgets are cut. It becomes more and more difficult because the income is reduced on this side and the demand is growing every single day on the other side. Every single day. Many of you spoke about that demand. The demand for education services and health services. The demand for land and housing. The demand for opportunities. People coming here because they see more hope here than in other parts of our country, but that adds to the demand. We have less income and growing demand. You can only get a different outcome if you start to shake up the middle a bit. if you start to innovate, if you start to try to do things differently. What we have to do in this government is we've got to test things, and I'm sorry, some of the things we test and try and we're going to fail. But we need to not be scared of failing as long as we test things, try them, fail quickly, and get back on course and try something else again. But this center of government, we have to make announcements of what we are going to change in our government, of what we are going to do differently. Because if we don't do things differently, we will get the same downward trend of our outcomes. As the Honorable Regan Allen said, he quoted me in something I say fairly often. We are very proud of this province. You know, when I heard someone talking about Google earlier today and referencing, if you Google something, you get lots of different answers. If you ask a librarian, you get the right answer. Can I say that sometimes you also get the right answer and one answer when you Google? Just Google the best run province in South Africa. Just Google it. I challenge any of you and see what it says. But even if you are the best run province in South Africa, we have huge challenges, and we have to come here and we have to make announcements, and we have to say to ourselves, let's do things differently, because we owe it to the citizens of this province. We owe it to those citizens that are coming here to this province for further opportunities. We owe it to the 7.1 million citizens of this province to do things differently and in their best interest, to make the best difference we can so that this province gets better and better. So we will make those announcements. We want you to hold us accountable to those announcements. If we fail, we will come back and say we failed. And we will also come back and report on how far we are getting with those announcements and the changes that those announcements are making in relation to the demands and the needs of our citizens. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition also spoke about empowerment. It kind of fits in with dignity, fits in with redress. What does a government do about empowering its citizens? Well, quite frankly, I think that the gist of my speech yesterday was about focusing on pandemic number 2. Those citizens that are not empowered, those citizens who do not have dignity, those citizens who are waiting for redress. That's actually the nub and the gist of those announcements in that speech yesterday, was actually all about empowerment. But the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, I need to say to you, but that's a difference in philosophy. The philosophy of the ANC is the ANC will take charge of telling you as the citizen how we will empower you. And what we do is we will say we will put systems in place so that, for example, when it comes to giving someone employment, the private sector will create those jobs. It's interesting that your president is now beginning to say the same things. But that's going to be a different fight at a national level, how what the president says versus what the rest. Yes, our president, my president, what he says compared to what the cabinet does and says. Everything I spoke about yesterday was about empowerment. It was about making sure that we change the lives of our citizens for the better, creating opportunity, making sure that we do things differently to create more opportunity and build a better future. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition also speaks about an island. He often says that this province doesn't want to be part of South Africa. I want to say straight out that everything that we do in this province is in the interests of building a better South Africa. That's how democracies work. That is how democracies work. You know that I said it when I first opened, that when I came into the seat, I said that I want to do things a bit differently. I really want to build partnerships. Ek het gepraat van 'n ander idee in hierdie demokratiese stelsel van ons, hoe ek sal optree. And I must say to you that I really have worked hard at building relationships with other provinces, other premiers, meeting with other premiers. The DG sitting right here meeting with DGs in other provinces, inviting those DGs to come to our province. The DG who is now the Director General in the presidency, she used to be the DG of Gauteng province. Very soon after I came in as the Premier of this province and Dr. Malila came in as the DG of this province, he went to go and visit the DG in Gauteng. Soon after that, she came to visit us, and she didn't just come to a meeting of our government, she came to a Premier's Coordinating Council, where it was the cabinet, it was every single mayor and municipal manager across this province. All of our governments across the province. And here was the DG of Gauteng sitting in our meeting. That's what I believe in, about finding best practice, about engaging on how we can share. You know, when we started rolling out the vaccine program in our province, it was unbelievable to see the Limpopo province and how very quickly they got numbers growing very nicely. First thing we did, Minister Mbombo and her team engaged with Limpopo. We went to work with them and say, what are you doing? Because jeepers, what you're doing is something that we need to learn from. And vice versa. That's also how democracy works. The PCC, where I and other premiers meet with the president in the coordinating council, I want to thank the president. Often, we will bring ideas from the Western Cape, and they will embrace those ideas, and they will become part of what he says, perhaps in a family meeting the next day. Those ideas will be embraced, and it'll be part of discussions in Lehotlas. Of course, it's not only about how we work together with national ministers and national governments and find the best way in which we can work together. Sometimes we have serious arguments and disputes. I can think of Minister Becky Clele and policing. We are forever at loggerheads because I believe in a very different safety plan, safety idea, and safety of our citizens compared to what he believes in. I really believe differently in how our resources should be deployed in our country and in our province. It seems that he and I don't agree in that arena. And of course, we will disagree, and we will even follow processes like formal intergovernmental disputes. Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, there are many things that she does that I absolutely don't agree with. I've just written to the president once again and said, how can we play our part in the province? You know, again, in the State of the Nation address, did not end the state of disaster, but you said we will continue working on finding a solution. Yesterday, I said, I need a date and a time. But I wrote to the president once again and said, we are offering our full support, our epidemiologists, our health department, whomever, whatever resource in our province can help. He came back very quickly and said, please engage with Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the Minister of Kokta. I will engage with her once again. I will try again. I won't give up. That's what cooperative governance is about. That's what democracies are about. But if I don't get it right, I will say it as well and declare a dispute. And we will argue about the fact because we need to be able to do that. That's how governments work. I promise you, this province and everything we do is in not only the best interests of the citizens of this province, but in the best interests of the citizens of South Africa. We believe in building a better South Africa. Deputy Speaker, I want to move on to the Honourable Plejo and say to him, I absolutely agree. He mentioned a few names of citizens who've lost their lives. I think about the horrendous, I think about it. I don't think my brain can actually comprehend the murder in Clava. It is incomprehensible. You cannot believe that a human being can do that to another human being. But you know, Honourable Plejo, more than 3,000 human beings in our province every single year have their flame blown out, have their life ripped away from them, are murdered in this province. Not one, not five, 3,000. That's what keeps me awake at night. That's why I campaigned on safety. That's why I argue with Becky Clele. Because the safety of our citizens in the constitution that the honorable leader of the opposition talks about says that that is the responsibility of the national minister and South African police services, not the province. We shouldn't be taking that responsibility. Well, quite frankly, they are failing the citizens of this province. They are failing the citizens of this province. They say that our job is to have only oversight of what happens in our province. Well, I'm sick and tired of oversight year after year. We produce the most amazing oversight documents in this province, detailing every single police station, what is short, what exists, where the resources are, or where the resources are not. And what happens? Nothing. That's why we put a safety plan in place. I hear them say again that it's not working. There's only one province with a safety plan that like we have, and there is only one province, as I will say again, which comes out of those 3,000 people who lose their lives in this province every single year, and the national government doesn't give a damn. Doesn't give a damn. We will continue with the safety plan. We will make it a passion. We will put, do you know this, the police oversight of what we're going to expand to now. Do you know that in this province, we get a history lesson on statistics from the Minister of Police? We get a history lesson. In a world where you are serious about safety for your citizens, you don't give statistics 6, 3, or even a year later, 6 months, 3 months, or a year later. You have real-time evidence every single day so that you can react to it. Ons is so bloody stadig, ons bring die syfers uit 'n jaar later, and then we still don't even redeploy extra resources. The minister says very quickly, the highest murder rate per capita in South Africa is in the Western Cape. He says it. And then what he does is he does nothing. He's supposed to deploy extra resources to the problem.
Order.
He deployed 1,000 extra officers and 2,000 resigned. I don't know how that is deploying. And the honorable leader of opposition knows that, and I'll mention it again. Why do we have more police officers deployed Claremont than we have deployed in Nyanga? Why? We've actually met personally on this matter. I've met, I don't know how many times with the police minister on this matter, and it doesn't change. I don't understand it. That power can happen in a day. You can make that resource change. In a day, it doesn't happen. But don't worry, we will continue with our safety plan. We will put a management system in place and a monitoring system in place, just like we learned from COVID-19. That data will be there, and we won't give it every 3 months or 6 months or every year. We'll put it forward to the police every day on what is happening under their noses. And we will demand, from an oversight point of view, we'll still work with the Constitution because I believe in the Constitution. We will up our game on oversight like never before. And we will continue at the same time to push for devolution of power. It is the right thing to do. I also want to say that the Honourable Klejo raises a very serious issue. He raises an issue of racism. He raises an issue of racism in our schools. I don't care whether we've got racism in our schools, in our businesses, across our society. We've got to root that out. When you pick up an issue, lay a charge, let's deal with it decisively. Just like we need to deal with GBV decisively, we need to deal with racism decisively. I support you absolutely on it. But it works both ways as well. Because we can't also play the race card in every other move that we make. It works both ways.
Honourable member.
I also want to say that thank you, Deputy Speaker. I also want to speak to the issue of land. Honourable Klugger, you raise it all the time, in our house, everywhere. But that's exactly what we were talking about yesterday on the dignity that comes with a title deed, on land ownership. Have you been to the Conradi Park site to see the difference that it makes? But I also want to talk about land when it comes to agriculture. I also want to talk about that. And what your party is raising around land for agriculture. But remind me, I'm going to bring it up when I deal with the issues raised by the Honourable Moran, because they are intertwined. They both have exactly the same problem. What they are not doing and what you advocate, and neither of those work. Because I believe that black farmers should own land. No, you don't. I've just heard the EFF say yes. They don't. They believe the government should own the land and they should lease it to the people. There's a policy conflict here. You guys need to speak to each other. But I'll raise it just now. I'll tell you
Order.
what's happening on the ground.
Order.
Deputy Speaker, I also want to talk about land, infrastructure, housing. These are serious issues. That was core in what I spoke about yesterday in my speech. I also, if you remember, said to people is that when you get some infrastructure, please look after it. Agreed. We need to look after our infrastructure. So if we build a fence at a school to make it safer, we need our learners and our teachers and our citizens to look after that infrastructure, right? That's what we should be doing. The Honourable Klejo is nodding, and I like that. Do you know that in this very town, in a place called Nuruk, there was an amazing piece of infrastructure just a few years ago? An amazing piece of infrastructure. This piece of infrastructure housed a creche where young children in the middle of Nuruk could go to a creche. This piece of infrastructure had a mezzanine floor with computers where young learners could go safely after school and go and do their homework, research, go online. This piece of infrastructure in the middle of Nuruk had a soup kitchen. It had an outside area that was fenced off safely with a jungle gym and place for kids to play. Do you know that some citizens in this region got together, marched to this facility, which was actually not a government facility, it was actually raised by fundraising. People raised money from ordinary citizens to build this infrastructure. They found some international donors. And guess what we did? Burnt the thing to the ground. We burnt it down. Wie was dit? Wie was dit? How does that happen? You know that just down the road here in Saldanha Bay Municipality, in Deersville, another piece of infrastructure was burnt down in protest. It was burnt down in protest. They burnt down the clinic. Kan nie wees nie. Ek stem saam met as jy reg het. We cannot burn down our infrastructure. Do you know that I believe in democracy? If we have issues to raise here, we don't burn down the infrastructure. We bring the issues here. We raise the issues here, and in our standing committees, we go and visit those sites. We don't destroy them and burn them down. I wish we could find those culprits, because suddenly when court cases And when charges are laid, suddenly people said, no, but that's not a card-carrying member of my party, and the case goes away. Unacceptable. This cannot be the politics. This cannot be the politics of this province. This cannot, I haven't cast
Order,
aspersion on anybody.
members.
This cannot be the politics of this province. Please, we need to respect democracy. We need to bring those issues to our committees and our debates. And we all need to protect our infrastructure. We all need to look after it. Please, because we cannot build a better province if we burn stuff. We've got to move forward in building a better province. The Honourable Win Vogel, thank you very much for your inputs. And you spoke about a very serious issue. Also, an issue that I spoke about yesterday, and Minister Mbombo spoke about it today. You spoke about the pressure on our health system. It is a huge pressure on our system. That's why I spoke about the new hospitals we need to build, because we are playing huge catch up now with the number of people who couldn't go for their hip op or their knee op. The number of people who actually were too scared to go to a healthcare facility because they were worried about catching COVID-19. And then when they present to our healthcare facility, they're not at stage 1 cancer, they're at stage 3 or 4 cancer. These are big issues in our society. They are major, major problems. And that backlog we've got to catch up on, let alone the pressure that is put on our system from mental well-being and the mental illness that's actually affecting so many of our citizens. It is just exacerbating the pressure. So I absolutely agree with you. We've got to invest in more. We've got to create more spaces. We've got to run 24 hours. We've got to definitely push those boundaries. I would also like the ANC to please push for more and more budget to come our way. Because, you know, it's easy in the construction of a new hospital, the construction of the infrastructure that I spoke a lot about yesterday. You put a new hospital in place. When we built the Khayelitsha Hospital, I'll never forget when we tendered for we put out the request for the jobs that are going to happen in that hospital, 650 odd jobs. 72,000 people applied for those 650 jobs. Just shows you. But the 650 jobs and the equipment and the beds and the latest technology and ongoing costs is also very, very expensive. It's all very well building it, but you've got to make sure it's sustainable. And we need budget to do that. We've got to grow our economy in order to keep this expansion going. But that was what yesterday was about making sure we get that infrastructure build in place, making sure that we spend money and not surrender that money. Make sure that those plans are in place, that we do it more and quicker than ever before. I want to say that you also spoke about unplaced learners. And can I say that here as well, just as we are under super pressure in our health system, we are also under super pressure in our education system. But I do want to commend once again the education department on how they are getting better and better in dealing with this pressure. Although there as well,
Order, members. Order. Order.
There as well, yesterday I mentioned about the extra infrastructure and the extra resources needed, and we will make sure that we keep on putting more and more funding to these two main areas of our province, health and education. They are a critical component of our constitutional mandate, and we will continue to fund them as best we can. But also, I would really appreciate a little bit of opposition support from this province at your national level. Thank you to the Honourable Said. I saw your head nodding there. I really would like that support. I note that you would make a good leader of the opposition, and I look forward to that day.
Order. Order.
Speaker, one of the issues raised in this debate was the Hanakotsia clinic in this region. And I'm pleased to say I got a note from Minister Mbombo to say, go and look at the budget book. There's a line item there. There is already funding for the upgrade of that clinic. 350,000 is already in the budget for the upgrading. So thank you for raising it here, because that's exactly what we need to do, is raise those issues and make sure that we invest where we need to, and make sure we deal with those issues that get raised. Then the Honourable August, thank you very much for your contribution, and a warm welcome to this Parliament. I look forward to, as you said, constructive criticism and engagement. I also want to say that the issues you raised about land, and I'm going to talk about ownership here because it's been raised here as well as under the Honourable Moran, and leasing versus ownership is a critical policy position. In the EFF, they say that the government will own the land and they will lease it to the farmers. The farmers won't be able to own that land. I totally disagree with it. I think black farmers should own the farm that they farm. Now listen to the comment from the Honourable Moran, because he said, I agree. So let's talk about Ivan Kluti. Let's talk about, he brought it up. He mentioned the name Ivan Kluti. He also says he agrees that our farmers should own the land. The first time I met Ivan Kluti was 10 years ago, maybe even 12 years ago. At that stage, Ivan Kluti was farming pigs in the city of Cape Town on an illegally occupied piece of land. He was an unbelievable entrepreneur and an amazing farmer, and I actually gave him an entrepreneurship award because he was such a good farmer. And what we did was we said, let's help Ivan Kluti get a farm, because that would be much better, right? You would agree with that, right? So guess what happened? We go off to the Department of Land Reform. This is the department whose job it is in our country to give land to black farmers, right? Yes. 10 years ago, Ivan goes and gets a piece of land. You know how excited Ivan was? He was super excited. For the first time in his life, he's got a piece of land that he can farm on. Of course, Land Reform didn't give it only to him as a pig farmer. They also gave it to another guy as a chicken farmer. So they gave two guys the piece of land. And then what happened is Ivan contacted me to say, I'm so excited. Last year, I got given a piece of land, but I can't get the municipality to connect the electricity. I can't get the water connection going, because when I go there to say I need to register my water connection and my electricity connection, they say, sure, no problem, where's your lease or your title deed? He says, no, I don't have a title deed. This is Land Reform, and I am waiting for my lease. I've just got a message now, 10 years later, and the third farm that Ivan is on, because he's been moved a few times, and I'll tell you about moving him. He says he still hasn't got his signed lease. Yes. The Department of Land Reform under the ANC, where they've said you should have land ownership, can't even give a lease to a farmer on a piece of land. Can't even give a lease to a farmer on a piece of land. And you know the last...
Order. Honourable members, continuous heckling is not allowed. Honourable Moran, you're not having a personal conversation with the Premier. You may proceed, Premier. Honourable Kondlo, not continuous. Thank you. Honourable Moran, I'm talking to you. Please, this is the Premier's space now. Thank you. You may proceed, Premier.
Thank you very much. You know, the last farm, not the one he's on now, the one he was on previously, he got given the farm, still going to get his lease. He got a nice investment on infrastructure. And then what happened? He got notice to get off the farm. Why? Because the ANC decided to give it to one of the ANC MPs who was no longer re-elected to Parliament, and they wanted to give it to one of their mates and not to Ivan, who's a really good farmer in this province. And guess what? It is ANC policy not to have black farmers in our province owning land, only leasing land. That is totally unacceptable. So the ANC are delivering on EFF policy, and it doesn't work EFF. So you should also change your policy because it doesn't work in the ANC, and it's contra because they nod their heads and say, we believe in black ownership, but they do not because it doesn't exist in what they do. Where is this farm? Where is this land reform department? It is shocking. We should have title deeds, ownership of land. Farmers should get land. They shouldn't be put on land with leases. We need to make sure that the future Ivans of this province get their land quickly, efficiently. They can get a lease in the beginning, and then after 2 years, they should get ownership. If they can show they can farm, they should get ownership. That's what the policy should be, land ownership in this province. No, the Honourable Tejo, you think the government should own the land. That is the worst thing that should happen. Then, of course, you raised the issue of the Clan William Dam. As an ANC member in this house, saying Clan William Dam is an embarrassment. Even just mentioning the word, it's an embarrassment. Vir hoeveel jaar het swart boere in hierdie Weskus gewag vir daai water in daai Clan William Dam, daai 9000 hektaar. And where is it? Ons wag nog. How many years have we been waiting for it? Our government realigned the road, got everything ready years ago. En ons wag nog, Waar is daai dam? Let me talk about another dam, but this dam's got a much happier ending. This dam is called the Brandvlei Dam. This is 5,000 hectares that can go to new farmers in our province. 5,000 hectares of agricultural land, and the irrigation systems will work once this dam is completed. We don't have to build the dam, the water's in the dam. We have to allocate the water. But to allocate the water, you've got to make sure it's sustainable, and all that has to happen is a piece of wall this big gets built along the side of the canal. So as dit reën, gaan die water in die dam in. We know. Do you know that Minister Bredell and I had to go and subat with the minister to say, come on, minister, we've budgeted it for it. Then you said, don't budget, we'll build it year after year after year. But I do want to say, after that engagement with the National Minister of Water Affairs, I want to thank him because that is already happening. Minister Meyer sent me a photograph a few days ago. He was on site with the construction guys, and they're actually building that little wall now. I'm so excited. I am so excited. And national government, yes. Well, the Honourable Moran, please, national government, come with me to get the allocation of the water licenses sorted out. Want nou gaan ons die dam bou, and I promise you I'll be here next year saying, waar is die waterlisensies? Die president het al klaar gesê, het kan nie 300 dae vat vir 'n waterlisensie. Where has it changed? He said that 3 years ago. We need water licenses and we need that speedily. And the Honourable Moran, I'll take you up on that. I'll invite you to come along to that meeting with the National Minister because we need to make sure we get these licenses efficiently and effectively to black farmers in this province, to all farmers in this province. Speaker, or Deputy Speaker, sorry, I want to say to the Honourable Marais, once again, I absolutely support you about giving more power to provinces, on federalism. And the Constitution says it. It says that if a government, local government, provincial government, which is closer to the citizens, has the capacity and the capability, give them the power. I absolutely support it. But of course, this is where the ANC absolutely fails. I've been saying this about policing. I say it about many, many areas. You know, I meet with PRASA, and the first thing they say is you can't have our trains. And then I say, okay, well, let's park that. Let's just get the trains that we have working. We have a constructive meeting. And I walk out of that meeting thinking, yes, maybe we're going to get somewhere now. And then a week later, the CEO gets suspended. And dan moet ons weer begin. It's unbelievable how You know, trains work efficiently in cities around the world. It's not rocket science. It's so easy to get a train to run. Maar nie hier nie, kon 'n prase. It is unbelievable.
Order.
Speaker, I have used a lot of time, and I don't want to take too much more time because, of course, there's programs to attend to later this afternoon. I've already said to you that through you to this House that issue raised here on the Hanikutsia Clinic, and there is definitely going to be funding. I also mentioned yesterday to the upgrades of the clinics and the hospitals that have already been done op die Weskus. But I also want to say that to those standing committees that went out across this province, to the citizens who engaged with our standing committees, baie dankie. I sincerely hope, and I didn't pick it up enough from the democracy that we have here, that the constructive issues put on the table, I hope we get more next year. I also hope, and I've said this many, many years, what I also hope in growing democracy in our country is that, you know, when our
Order.
MPLs in other legislatures speaking in states of the province addressing premiers in other provinces, they usually put on the table policy differences and actually brag about things that happen in this province. Brag about things that happen when you Google where's the best province in South Africa, and the answer you get, they brag about that province. And they brag about policies and they brag about delivery. I never hear it here in this province about members bragging about what policy delivers differently in other provinces and how amazing it is. I'm waiting for some of those policy differences because that's how democracy works.
Order.
Speaker, I want to say one other thing and then I will go into my concluding remarks. But I want to say that yesterday I mentioned a time frame on a local government going out to tender for the first 300 megawatts. I made a mistake because I welcomed the mayor of the city of Cape Town here and said it's really great because within the next couple of weeks, Cape Town is going to go out and call for requests for proposals for energy generation in our first municipality to fit within the 100 megawatt allowance. Well, I was wrong. It wasn't in a few weeks' time. Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis today announced it, and the request for proposal went out today. The first municipality in South Africa, 300 megawatts, and that's only the start. Of course, they need 2,000 altogether in the province, and then they will be totally self-sufficient in the city, 2,000. And but it's really great news. Well done. And I thought I better just bring that correction to the House, but also the good news to the House. Speaker or Deputy Speaker, in conclusion, what I want to say is that what I brought to this House was a vision for the next year, the next 2 years, a disruption, some announcements, some changes, with a real focus and a real moving forward. I said we're not going back to normal. We cannot afford that. Daai normaal voor COVID-19, ons was al klaar in die moeilikheid. We can't go back to that normal. We've got to go forward to a new normal. We've got to go forward to a better operation of government, a better delivery. We've got to go forward to innovating and creating new opportunities and advantages. We've got to do that with obsession and passion. We've got to do that focusing on pandemic number 2. Pandemic number 2 is unemployment. It is hunger. It is poverty. It's people living in shacks. It's people without their title deeds. It's people without opportunity. We've got to move forward into making sure we deal with pandemic number 2 with passion, focus, and energy. It was about jobs. More and more jobs, enabling the private sector, making sure that from our side, we coordinate, we bring together and we learn from the pandemic and our lessons in the pandemic. We enable those innovations. We enable those best practices to take our province to the next level. It was about making sure that government infrastructure is aligned and coordinated and enables private infrastructure that at the end of the day enables hope, opportunity, and attracts much more investment into our province from other provinces, from Africa and the world. It was about making sure that we continually focus on safety in our province and make a safer province for the citizens of our province. It was making sure that we continually invest in dignity. Dignity comes from health, dignity comes from education and opportunity. Dignity comes from a safety net for those vulnerable citizens. That was what I laid on the table. That is going to be our program of action as a government as we move forward this year and next. I look forward to announcing successes coming out of these plans. I look forward to announcing how those plans are coming to fruition, and I look forward to reporting it back not only to this Parliament, Deputy Speaker, but also to the citizens of this province as we strive to build a better province, as we don't go back to normal, as we go forward to a far better province for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable members, that concludes the debate on the Premier's State of Province address. Members and guests are requested to remain standing in their places while the procession leaves the chamber. Guests must please remain seated while members leave the chamber. That concludes the business for the day. The House is adjourned.